Hello and welcome. We're going to be talking about some science fiction books today. Let's get this started right away. We have our first book here, Fire Time by Poul Anderson, a very prominent figure in science fiction. You're going to hear this name a lot if you're looking for science fiction books. I highly recommend Tau Zero, which is his most well-known hard SF novel. This book I did not know much about. I did some digging. I do plan on adding this to my TBR. The basic premise of the book is about a planet named Ishtar, which has 3 suns, and once a millennium, one of the suns gets too close to the planet and brings a period of chaos where these centaur dudes go to war. I am not so sure how soon I will read this, but it's definitely up there. Rad cover by Daryl K. Sweet. And on to the next book. We have Vermillion Sands by J.G. Ballard. What can I even say about this book? I have heard so much praise about this author, this book. He is a part of the new wave movement in science fiction. He is an English writer. Really interesting figure overall. This guy is just full of wonders. And I'm really stoked to read this. This is at the very top of my TBR right now. It is set in a future Palm Springs resort where forgotten artists and actors go to beat boredom. Not 100% sure what that entails or what these short stories will be like, but just from all the praise I've heard, I'm very excited to read this. And also, I'm on the lookout for some more books by him. He works with a lot of post-apocalyptic themes. One that I'm particularly interested in is The Drowned World. Up next, we have Interplanetary Hunter by Arthur K. Barnes. This is just a great cover. I didn't do enough research to know who did the cover, but if you know who, drop the name in the comments. I would love to know who did this amazing cover. Plus, there are some great illustrations in here, which, let me see if I can find some.
For example, and let's see. Yeah.
All right. So, from my digging, I found out that Arthur K. Barnes was a part of the Mañana Literary Society, which was a collective of science fiction writers that would meet in Laurel Canyon at, guess whose house? Robert Heinlein. Yes, one of the big 3. This book follows Tommy Strike and Gary Carlisle as they go to these different places and they hunt monsters for the London Zoo. Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely keeping this. I don't know if I'll read it anytime soon, but it's definitely a keep. And let's see what we got over here for the next book. It is Thendara House by Marion Zimmer Bradley. I'm not really interested in reading this, and I did my research about the writer, and it makes me want to read it less. This is book, I believe, 13 in a, what's the series called? The Darkover series. I will be getting rid of this. So, up next, we have The Falling Torch by Algis Budrys. I knew very little about this writer before I picked up this book. I actually found it along with Interplanetary Hunters. They were in the same place. This book is about an alien invasion and a group of freedom fighters from Earth try to liberate Earth. Algis Budrys is a Lithuanian-American writer. And in my research, I found out that the book carries a lot of overtones of his own personal struggle in his homeland of dealing with a foreign invasion. If you don't know what I mean when Lithuania was occupied by the Soviet Union. So this will be on my TBR, also not top priority, but it is something I'm interested in reading, and it looks like a short read. All right, up next, Beyond the Fall of Night by Arthur C. Clarke and Gregory Benford. I am not at all interested in reading this book. This is a sequel to one of Clarke's earliest novels. I believe at the time it was called The City in the Stars and was later renamed Against the Fall of Night. This is a continuation that Benford got permission from Clarke to write, and I'm not really interested in reading it. I have read Childhood's End and The Sands of Mars by Clarke. I am also very interested in reading many other books by him, just not this one. Gregory Benford is an astrophysicist, and he is actually known for writing a book called The Scarred Man about an actual computer virus that he made. That I am interested in reading. This, not so much. Next book we're going to be talking about is Invasion of the Body Snatchers by Jack Finney, if that's how you pronounce it. I saw this movie for the first time this year. I had never watched it. I had seen the meme, which I will be putting here. Great movie. I truly enjoyed it. It is reminiscent, a lot of people are saying, of the new Apple TV series Pluribus, which I'm currently watching, and I can definitely see some connections. The plot of the movie is about these aliens that come to Earth in the form of these plants, and when the plant pollinates, it infects humans, makes an exact replica of their body, and then it gets rid of the host. So you have all these replicants walking around, but they look identical to the person who they copied. It's a crazy concept, and I look forward to reading this at some point. For now, it is going in my collection. And up next, we have Transformer by M.A. Foster. Not really interested in reading this book. It is about a shape-shifting assassin sent out to do some mission in a totalitarian state. I honestly, I can't tell you enough about the writer because I didn't do too much digging. I just realized I wasn't interested and decided to stop there. If you guys have any recommendations from this writer, who I believe is still alive, please comment below some titles. Up next, I have 3 books by Philip José Farmer. We have first, A Private Cosmos, The Lava-Light World, and The Stone God Awakens, with this amazing cover. This book is about a failed science experiment. I will be keeping this. It is not high priority, but I like this cover. I have books by him. This is added to my collection. The other 2, not so much. Philip José Farmer is most famously known for the Riverworld series, which I have some interest in dabbling in. These 2 are a part of the World Tier series. This is book 3 and book 5. Not interested in really reading that series or starting a new series. He is known for sexual and religious themes, and also in reworking historical figures into his novels. I'm on the lookout for the Riverworld, and I also have a book by him named Flesh, which is on my TBR. Up next, I have a stack of books by Alan Dean Foster. We have Kitty Cat cover, Catalyst, The Deluge Drivers. This guy really likes cats. Orphan Star, and Montezuma Strip. Alan Dean Foster is a prolific writer. This guy has written over 400 books. Now, with that being said, always remember the motto is still quality over quantity. I have one book by him in my TBR. It is Midworld, which I have heard mixed reviews from. I didn't know too much about Alan Dean Foster. I found out that he actually wrote the original novelization of Star Wars and was not credited by George Lucas. Big surprise there. He's also worked on Star Trek novelizations and on the Alien franchise as well. Guy has a surprisingly cool track record. I think I will definitely be on the lookout for more books by him. I am possibly interested in reading that first novelization of Star Wars. And the next book we have is Count Zero by William Gibson. William Gibson is known for pioneering the genre of cyberpunk, which is a genre I am very interested in reading more about. This book is part of a trilogy, the Sprawl Trilogy, this being book number 2. Book 1 is Neuromancer, which is very high on my TBR. And book 3 is Mona Lisa Overdrive, which I am on the lookout for. So pretty soon I'll have the trilogy and I will start reading it. Fun fact, William Gibson went to elementary school in Norfolk, Virginia, where I bought this book. Up next, we have the box set, the Earthsea Trilogy by Ursula K. Le Guin. These I know are juvenile. I did not read them when I was a juvenile, so I will be reading them as an adult. And I will probably enjoy them because Ursula K. Le Guin is an easy contender for my favorite science fiction writer at this moment. Over the summer, I read Word for World is Forest, which is a great book about colonization and just conflict between native species that live in distant planets. Great book, highly recommended. I also read most recently The Dispossessed, which I will also be doing a review of both very soon. I have a lot of content around Le Guin. I'm very interested in reading the Hainish universe books. Up next by her, I will be reading The Left Hand of Darkness, and I am super excited to just read more of her work. Also, if you're lucky enough to be near Portland, Oregon, there is an exhibition about her life right now. I think it ends in February, so if you live near or are ever visiting, we are back. My camera died, so let's get right back to it. Starting off with The Santaroga Barrier by Frank Herbert. Yes, the same Frank Herbert that wrote the Dune series. I have read the Dune series from book 1 to book 5. I'm just missing the 6th book, Chapter House Dune. 2 years ago, I would have probably told you Frank Herbert was my favorite science fiction author. That doesn't stand anymore. On to this book. This is about a psychologist who travels to the desert to research a community of people that live inside of this barrier in what seems to be a utopian seeming society. I will add this to my TBR. I think this will redeem my experience reading The Green Brain by Frank Herbert, which is another standalone novel. It has a lot of the environmentalist themes that Dune has, but it bored the living crap out of me. This, I hope, will not. And I'm adding this to my TBR. Still like Frank Herbert a lot. Up next we have Retief, Emissary to the Stars by Keith Laumer. I run into this guy at every used bookstore I go to, and every time I go through the science fiction section, I find one of these Retief books. There are literally hundreds of these books. I may be exaggerating. I have many of these. I don't know if I really plan on reading them, but a lot of the covers are funny. This one is more of a, I think they were trying to be serious, but it's also hilarious. There are some covers with crab people. I will put that here. I don't know. I'm not really interested in reading the Retief series. I have a lot of these books. I plan on most likely reselling them. If anyone does have any recommendations for Keith Laumer books, please let me know. All right, and a little switch of pace here. We have some fantasy books to look over. I'll show you this one first. This is The Bull and the Spear by Michael Moorcock. This is book 4 in the Chronicles of Corum. And then we have The Champion of Garathorn, I think it's how it's pronounced. And this is volume 2 of the Chronicles of Castle Brass. And these are by Michael Moorcock, a new wave science fiction and fantasy writer who I am very interested in. More specifically, I've been wanting to read the series of Elric of Melnibone, I think is how it's pronounced. I'm not 100% sure how you pronounce the last part of that title, but I recently acquired a copy, and I'm very excited to read that. Yeah, every once in a while I'll read a fantasy book. I'm not too much into fantasy, but I know Michael Moorcock. I have heard a lot of good things about him. So anytime I find one of his books, I get it. And these were in really nice conditions, had amazing covers. Also, fun fact about Michael Moorcock, he is a self-proclaimed anarchist. Yeah, that's great. I love it. Up next, back to the sci-fi, we have West of Honor by Jerry Pournelle. I don't know much about Pournelle. I only know of him because there's a book that he co-wrote with Larry Niven named The Moat in God's Eye, which has come highly recommended from many people. I will possibly be reading that next year. It is kind of a long book, so I'm not sure when I will get to it, but it's on my list. And this, I will most likely get rid of. I'm not too interested in his standalone novels. Yeah. Up next, we have The Spinner by Doris Piserchia. This is an amazing cover. This cover is by H.R. von Dongen. Cool cover, cool name. I am really interested in this book. I know very little about Doris. I know she's a new wave feminist science fiction writer. The book itself is about an interdimensional alien that wreaks havoc in a city by spinning webs and eating people. And I mean, he kind of looks like Venom. Who knows, you know, what came first? Up next, we have Starburst by Frederick Poul. Poul is a big name in science fiction. You're going to see his name come up a lot because he was an editor. He was also an agent. I think he was Asimov's only agent. He also represented Budrys and Heinlein. I have only read a short story collection by him called Vermillion, which has an amazing cover. I will put that here. And I will do a review of that book at some point in the future. Probably sooner than later. This book, not too interested in the plot. It's hit or miss with him, I guess. The short stories I read by him, there are some really good ones, and then there were some really bad ones. So I'm assuming it's the same way with his books. He's an interesting character and definitely someone I will be doing more research on. He worked on editing Dahlgren by Samuel Delany, which is another book that is super high on my TBR, but it's another long one. Yeah, Frederick Poul. Look him up. He's an editor and very influential, apparently. So it's just someone you should keep in mind. All right. We have a fat stack of Mac Reynolds, Amazon Planet, Day After Tomorrow, Satellite City, Tomorrow Might Be Different, Towers of Utopia, the Towers of Utopia, and look, if you look closely, a Frederick Poul selection. I told you you're going to see his name a lot. And most famous, After Utopia. I am very interested in Mac Reynolds. I knew very little about him before I stumbled upon these books at a bargain bookstore and took them home because I really like the covers, did some research, and found out that he is a really interesting character. A lot of fun facts surrounding this guy. I think the number one thing people don't know but are surprised by is he wrote the first novel based on the Star Trek TV series, Mission to Horatius. I have not watched Star Trek. Don't hate. I just have never gotten around to it. At some point, I would like to, dip my toes in. He grew up in a Marxist socialist family. Apparently, even to the point where in his own household, he would call his mother, father, sister, whatever it is, comrade. Yeah, like, the guy is a super interesting character in the books. As you can see from a lot of the titles, a lot of them deal with utopias or societies that seem like utopias borderlining dystopias. I like dystopian fiction. I have read the big ones, 1984, Brave New World, A lot of people don't know about that book. That's another book I will do a review on. I can never remember the author's name, which really sucks, but I will put it somewhere. Have another fat stack coming, this time from Robert Silverberg. We have Starborn, Majipur Chronicles, if that's how you pronounce it, The Book of Skulls, and Time of the Great Freeze. Robert Silverberg is, again, a very prolific writer. He has won several Hugo and Nebula Awards. A fun fact about him, he has gone to every Hugo Award since the inaugural in 1953. Looking forward to reading 2 books by him specifically that I've heard good things about. One of them is Nightwing, and I believe the other one is called Downward to the Earth. I have never read anything by him. I hear he is a great author, and his books really hit the spot. This one is part of a series of books that all take place in the same world. I believe this is book 2. I'm still looking for Lord Valentine's Castle. Yeah, this is someone I will be on the lookout for, and I will definitely be reading next year and hopefully doing a review of one of those 2 books that I mentioned. Have another stack over here by Clifford Simak, A Choice of Gods, Out of Their Minds. This one is a really nice cover. Project Pope. I've heard good things about Simak. I have gotten some recommendations for a couple of his books, most notably City, which is a book where humans don't exist on Earth anymore and dogs take control. Dogs and robots. Sounds like heaven. Yeah, that is one book by him that I really want to read. Also, out of these 2, I will most likely be reading, out of these 3, I will most likely be reading Out of Their Minds, which is just a crazy book. It's out of their minds in the force of their imagination. Men have created countless beings, from demons and dragons and monsters of legend to storybook heroes and comic strip characters. What if their world were real? This sounds like a great book. And also it has Don Quixote and Charlie Brown in the same sentence. Alright, we have The Witling, Werner Vinge. I love this cover. I have almost bought this book twice on a live Whatnot auction, and I got outbidded, but I'm happy that I found it, and now I own it, and I will definitely read it. Werner Vinge is in the subgenre of cyberpunk, and he is most notable for writing Fire Upon the Deep, which is another book that comes highly recommended. I've heard great things about. I own a copy and plan on reading it soon. It's a bit of a longer book, so I'll definitely take my time with it, and we'll hopefully do a review. This book seems insane. It is about, it's a hard SF book about teleportation, telekinesis, and it's kind of like an adventure novel. Has some hints of fantasy in it. This is on my TBR. I will be reading this probably at the start of the year. And as we're nearing the end of this video, I have a couple more books I want to show you guys. Not too noteworthy, but just some ones that I picked up. We have War Gamer's World by Hugh Walker. There's not a lot of information about this author online. I'm not 100% sure if I'll be keeping this, but it seems to be part of a series, so I might hang on to it just because it's in nice condition. We'll see if anyone has anything good to say about it. Ian Wallace, The Rape of the Sun. I got this book because the title was ridiculous and I like the cover art a little bit. Probably not going to hang on to this. I just bought it on a whim, and I haven't heard good things about it. Now, one that I actually might read. George Warren, Dominant Species. I actually really like this cover. I think it's different. Yeah, this is a space opera. I'm a little bit more interested in reading this than the other books in this pile that I'm showing you. And then Fall into Darkness by Nicholas Yermakov. He's a Russian-American author. Also, not a lot of information about this guy. I might hold on to this to see if I can do some further research.